live right now. Hey, Candy, Mike, and Todd. Todd waving. Princess wave. Nice. Beautiful. We just gave you a taste of our stories. You've been texting your votes. Candy,
so for the record,
Mike,
I
Todd,
did not princess.
98973. No, unless you're seeing it right now on Facebook Live. Yeah, okay. From the 253, wake up, Candy. Everyone goes to Evergreen State College is all exposed to only one side. Okay, you know what? We were talking about choose your news stories. From the 425, I absolutely vote for Mike's story today. I cannot wait to hear it. From the 253, but Candy, I cannot operate my phone with that finger. And then from the 206, I must hear Todd's story today. The Choose Your News scoreboard currently says Todd, 46 wins. Mike is at 60. I am at 45 wins.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Today, the winner of Choose Your News is... Congratulations, Todd.
So in our region, often we turn to Bill Gates for commentary and things. Oftentimes we say, hey, Bill, mind your own business. But lots of times we want to know what he thinks about, global famine and global disease. And Gates has done a lot for philanthropy. So when he speaks, it's sort of interesting to hear some things that maybe don't get as much attention, or maybe they do. He said about a particular energy source, and I quote, "It's ideal for dealing with climate change because it's the only carbon-free, scalable energy source that's available 24 hours a day." So, Candy, what was he speaking of? What energy source?
Solar?
No. I'm going to turn to Mike. Oh, I
Nuclear.
bet there it is. And he says that nuclear power is that energy source. He also, because he does believe in man-made climate change, also says it can also reduce not just that, but global poverty. And Gates' point is, by making electricity more affordable for people and more scalable, he believes nuclear would do that. He thinks that may be the key to rising people out of poverty because it changes their entire lifestyle. In fact, he's invested in a company back in 2006 called TerraPower LLC. As I recall, one of their innovations was taking this spent nuclear waste and making it into fuel, right? Why are we calling this nuclear waste when we could just reverse engineer what it is and use it as fuel? But it's not just Gates. It's also people like Paul Allen, the late Paul Allen, of course, was Gates' partner in founding Microsoft. He championed this. Peter Thiel, who was the founder of PayPal and a bunch of other things, also one of the early investors in Facebook, said the same thing. So lots of people are talking about this, and yet the fear remains for nuclear power. I got to admit, as in favor as I am in this, in the context of believing it can help the world, I get chills when I drive down south through the on the coast and I see the nuclear power plants. It still freaks me out. As I was out on, I'm trying to remember the islands. I did some work for a nuclear facility back in New York, and I saw the plants. And every time I drive by, I'd get this chill. So I think I've been programmed to fear that stuff. You read about what happened in Russia, etc., that you get that scared feeling. Do you still get that when if you drive by a nuclear facility?
Oh, yeah. It's just a little unsettling. And if steam is coming off one of the smokestacks, I was like, oh, no, here it comes. Is it?
It's almost instinctual because I don't fancy myself to have anywhere enough knowledge to know how safe or unsafe it is. I guess, in the calculus of all things with energy, I've yet to see a really, 100% safe energy system. I just saw that the big propellers, the wind things, are now messing with... Yeah, the turbines are messing with bats. Do you ever get that feeling when you see the nuclear stuff, Mike?
When I see Fukushima?
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah.
I
mean, you should.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to... I mean, if you use the... So we often talk about how safe air travel is. Mm-hmm. And because, driving in my... Like I've said, my motorcycle trip to the airport is probably statistically less safe than the flight that I'm getting on. Yet, I'm probably more nervous on the flight than I am on the motorcycle trip. That is true depending on how you calculate the numbers. If you calculate the survivability of a car crash, your numbers are way better than air travel because air crashes, when they happen, don't tend to have a lot of survivors, if any at all.
Yeah.
They tend to be catastrophic. So it depends on how you want to look at the numbers, and this is exactly a fair comparison to nuclear energy. Generally speaking, day to day, it actually is safer and less polluting. But when something bad happens, it's catastrophically bad. So our fear is not misplaced. Our fear is actually appropriately placed. Fukushima was the country that is considered the leading country in nuclear power development. We are going to be dealing with that for the next several centuries. Mm-hmm. Centuries, not years, centuries. Mm-hmm. We had nuclear polluted items washing up on the shores in Washington State. We have ruined an entire area of a small country as a result of this. And this is a country that is considered the cutting edge of nuclear power development in the world. So what do I think? I don't know. I think that our fears are pretty well placed. Is there a place for it? Maybe, but even that spent fuel is actually very, very, very difficult to work with. It's not just like you put it in a giant hopper and then suddenly it becomes new nuclear fuel. There's waste from that too. And the problem is that the waste outlives all of us. We think plastic waste is a problem.
Yeah.
Try dealing with nuclear waste.
And it's so funny because I have many of the same fears, and I think that's well said. And then Gates, his mind, he looks at these things and says, well, wait a minute. Volatility can also mean viability in terms of an energy source. So I'd love to hear a debate on this, for real. Like, I'd love to hear two sides go at this in a knowledgeable way, like two scientists. Okay, when we come back on the Candy Mike and Todd Show, we got this. Jeff Bezos wants to take over your entire yard. It's not just your dog. That's
is he gonna mow?
Yeah, take over.
Oh.
Yeah. Not care for. We'll get to that. Let's get a traffic report now from Tracy Taylor.
So I promised you 10 minutes ago, look at the drive out.